A while back, I did one tip for and against every Splatoon 3 weapon, but now with content done, there's a lot of new weapons to talk about. Technically I did the first 3 last time, but they were a bit new. I think we could do better than that. Same for Splatanas and Stringers. So this is going to be one tip for and against every brand new Splatoon 3 weapon. Let's get started. For using Splatana Wiper, the Charge Slash should be used a lot more for mobility when stalling against opponents. Not only does it have a bit more range, but the dash can mix up your movement a little bit more, which helps more than just strafing around and is a very underrated aspect of the weapon. When going against Wiper, keep in mind that its kill time is very weak if it's not able to get up close to you. This means this weapon is often playing the sides of the map looking for 1v1s, and you need to be cautious of what kind of angles it's going to take and keep track of its position. Think of it like a longer ink brush. It plays very similarly. For Splatana Stamper, especially after all the nerfs, the horizontal slash is the main one you want to use. It has a lower ink consumption, is pretty fast, and still covers a lot of range. It's incredibly underutilized. If you're going against Splatana Stamper, keep in mind cover can very easily cut off slashes, and try to use that to keep fights with the weapon in mid-range. You don't want to be too close to it where its charge slash can kill you, but not too far away where it can easily space you out. The number one mistake I see people using Decapitator for is only using the dash slash to dash at people. The dash is a great movement option, and the slash that comes out of it has the range of the 96 gal. It's a lot, so you can use it while moving sideways or retreating to try to use more of the damage combos rather than just exclusively going in to charge slash one shot. It will make you a lot less predictable of a target. Against Decapitator, verticality is the most built-in weakness I've ever seen in a weapon. Everything this thing wants to do is awkward with it. Even a small amount of high ground makes it more awkward for Decapitator. Now, when it comes to bows, I'm still not the most knowledgeable about them, so I figured I'd bring in someone who is.
Hello, I'm Erito, the best bow player in North America. Today I'll be discussing how to effectively use bows and how to counter them. While each bow shares similar strengths and challenges, I'll first focus on general tips that apply to all of them. The two main things you need to master are 1. Understanding angles, knowing how much to charge your shot and how high to aim for a direct hit. 2. Predicting your opponent's movements. This is key for landing direct shots and limiting their mobility, ensuring you can maintain control of key areas. The original bow excels by positioning yourself effectively to land direct hits while dealing damage at long range. It's also great for contesting other long range weapons like ballpoint and explasher. As for reflex, its main function is to control the map, allowing your slayers more opportunities to move and secure kills. It also sets up openings since both specials do exactly that. When it comes to Wellstring, the goal is to apply constant pressure while coordinating with your teammates. This synergy can help combo your damage with theirs, making it easier to secure kills. By mastering these techniques, you'll be able to maximize the potential of your bow and play more effectively. To counter bows, it's effective to use weapons that pressure them by pushing forward, forcing them out of positions and limiting their ability to contribute to fights. Weapons like Tetra, Decaf, Rollers, and Wipers are particularly good at this due to their mobility and role in aggressive play. Additionally, Chargers pose a tough matchup for bows, as their larger hitbox and superior ledge peeking capabilities give them an advantage in long-range duels. These are the methods to improve your bow and matchup against bows. If you'd like to learn more about bows, I have a YouTube and Twitch channel dedicated exclusively to bow content. You can find the links in the description. Thank you, Chara, for having me.
Thanks for coming on. You can check out his bow guide in the description, by the way, if you want to learn more about Tri-Stringer. Anyway, let's get to the next weapon, the Big Swig Roller. If you're investing in a Big Swig and you really want to get better at it, the vertical flick is what you gotta learn. This is basically a better splat roller flick, but it has a much more narrow and unforgiving hitbox. You gotta get used to using it for fighting and ledge camp positions. The good news is, people are not going to expect a Big Swig who actually knows how to abuse its vertical flick with the reputation the weapon has, so you'll catch some people off guard. If you're going against this weapon, its main strength is the sheer amount of paint output it has, but it very much struggles in fights, so you should be baiting it into overextending or looking for times you can rush the weapon down if it ever is playing by itself. However, keep in mind that this is going to be easier the flatter the terrain is, as any kind of roller angle under a ledge is going to give it a lot more to work with. For Splattershot Nova, the damage on this weapon is so terrible that you need to be either using your kit, minus the point sensors because those don't do damage, or playing around teammates to help you out. If your main gun is the only thing doing damage to the enemy, your fights are going to be incredibly difficult, or you're just not going to be taking enough of them. If you're going against Splattershot Nova, this is yet again another weapon that needs to be fought fought a lot more, and like with Big Swig, you should look for points where it's isolated from its team. This weapon does have a decent strafe speed and mobility though, being a shooter, so you'll have to get a bit closer to ambush it or take advantage of some form of terrain option, which is going to make them have a lot harder of a time fighting. For Pencil, this is the one time where I think the tip I gave last time was pretty relevant, which is if you don't use all of your shots, just go back into squid form to get the ink tank back. But for a small bonus, Pencil has an unrestricted jump height at all times, so you can use this to climb up small blocks while charging up the weapon. If you're going against Pencil though, be really careful using special resources or even looking at Pen in big team fights. Oftentimes this weapon is going to be very far away and very mobile, with teammates ready to clean kills since it's running 3 Slayers with it pretty much at all times. Target the weapon when it's overextended or when its teammates are down. Otherwise, it's usually not the best target to go for, and there's a much better choice closer to you. For S-Blast, use your Burst Bomb or even Sprinkler for mobility a lot more than trying to use it for damage. It might seem useful, especially if you're going for the short range mode, but this weapon is slow and the damage combos are not consistent in the slightest. So oftentimes it's much better to use them to keep yourself mobile enough to get 2 shots off. If you're going against the weapon, it doesn't have any form of long-range AoE. Treat it like a weird mid-range charger that turns into a slow Luna Blaster, which means if you're up close to it or around corners, respect it, but at a distance you can easily outpoke it with other similar range weapons. When using Paintbrush, it's all about trying to make up for the weapon's mobility. Use jumps when possible to gain more distance when going for opponents, or try to shark a bit closer before popping out on enemies. Even though you have a lot of range, your mobility is horrible and you're basically stuck swinging or have to go through the windup all over again, so you want to be able to pop up and take opponents down in one shot. If you're going against the weapon, most of beating it is just running away from it when it initially attacks you. That startup is going to give you a little bit of an opening to get away from it, but stay aware from where it is and prioritize your own movement first. Once you get out of its initial kill range, the weapon has no options that aren't extremely predictable to continue the fight. You'll have a lot easier of a job punishing its lag. When using Dreadringer, you really want to play around getting the initial damage on targets, especially because if you get up close, hitting 2 sloshes is really difficult, and that might not even one-shot. So having to hit only 2 sloshes to secure a kill is really important. Play your spacing right and look for either teammates to do damage or for someone to get greedy against you. If you're going against Dreadringer, you want to start your engagements up close or go for the first hit yourself. If you're weak even a little bit, Dreadringer becomes a very strong fighter, but its low mobility paired with a high accuracy requirement to hit 2 separate shots up close when it's flicking is going to make it much more difficult to secure quick kills against you if you get the jump on them. When using edit splatling, you need to be more aggressive with your Tacticooler. This is not a backline, this is a weird mini-knot hybrid. You should be fighting with Cooler and taking advantage of your main weapon's quick strafe speed and kill time. When you're going against it, the long charge time though will give you good options to poke it and try to force it to use its charge. You do not want to let edit get a full charge, it will paint the entire map and kill you really quickly. So don't challenge it when it's fully charged, try to wait that out and push it when it doesn't have one ready, or use certain subs and specials that can force it to get rid of its charge earlier. If you're using Dowser Dually, the most important thing to keep in mind is to not burn your dodge roll. The lag on this weapon is horrible after you use it, so take advantage much more of your main weapon's decent mobility plus burst bomb, and use dodge roll as an escape option or to secure a kill. This can still be really useful for a fast kill time or paint output, but you can't use it anywhere near as much as other dualies, so the timing is really important. If you're going against the weapon, Dowser doesn't actually paint that well for its distance, so you don't have to worry about it as much passively. Baiting the rollout of the weapon is always a good idea, but for the most part, taking fights with the weapon is a lot easier than it seems. Just make sure you're not getting chipped by burst bomb. Try to look for if it's used those already, because that's the main way it's going to speed up its kill time. Finally, for Recycle Umbrella, if you're using the weapon, really the only way your shield's going to come in that much handy is to use the 2 shields at the same time. So go in with a launched one and try to have it so your next shield will regen by the time that one's getting shot. Just in general, getting any value out of your shield is pretty tricky with this weapon. Keep in mind it can still block certain specials. It might have 100 HP, but that's enough for one Trizuka bullet. If you're going against the weapon, you have to respect it on one-on-one fights. Even if the shield is a little bit weak, the main weapon can kill you really quickly, so it's going to look for a lot of isolated fights, and you don't want to give it one-on-ones, just like any other Umbrella. But that being said, that's my advice for and against all of the new weapons. Let me know what you think and anything I missed in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.